Welcome to Into the Mind of a Madman with your host, me, the Madman. I had a great conversation about a week ago. It was a conversation about black and white. Well, the communities here in America. Me being a black man, had a conversation with a white man about the issues from my community's point of view, right? In no way do I speak for all, but I do speak for a black man who was born in the inner city, Brooklyn, New York. I had no significant encounters with police, I would say. Right? I had no significant encounters of racism. I had no significant encounters of systematic oppression. But I definitely dealt with them. I definitely understand it. I definitely have knowledge on them. I know people who have had incidents with police. I see it on the news. I read about it in blogs, with social media now, we see it all on TV. I definitely understand the difference as a black man. Well, hold on, let me rephrase that. I don't understand the difference because I don't know the other side, but I definitely understand the fear installed in me as a black man from the teachings of others and from seeing it in the community. I can validate that there is a discourse between I guess us as a black man and the police. Now when I say I haven't had any significant bouts with police, I've never been beaten or hands put on, or I don't necessarily feel like I've been stopped while driving, like stopped while black. I definitely feel as if every time I've been stopped, it's been because I was doing something. But there is a perceptional fear that I do have, and that makes me act accordingly when being pulled over, because simply I believe in making it home. I believe in law shouldn't be fought on the streets. It should be fought in the courtroom. I believe that overall, my life is more important than a traffic ticket, right? Now, my encounters with police have been pretty fair, you know. Just particularly 2 encounters that I had back in the day. Personally, I went to ask a police officer for help. Like, it was a situation where I was working, somebody was trying to break into the store, or they was saying they was going to break into the store, or they was about to throw a brick through the window or whatever. The manager told me to get the cop. I went like downstairs in the train station, this back in New York, to get a cop or whatever. And it's literally, I guess, right upstairs. If you walk out the train station, he was like, call 911 or whatever. I was kind of like, what? He's doing this. Call 911, that's whatever. That's not my jurisdiction or whatever. He was claiming to say, or whatever. And then the second one, we was in the hood. Well, I had another one. Second one, we was in the hood. It was a block party, whatever. People who was there seen, they was like, in the neighborhood, it was a time when the block party could go till 2, 3 in the morning, whatever. But throughout the years, the police started trying to control everything more. And then they was trying to make us move, and I didn't want to move because one cop was telling me, I go stand over there. And then I go stand over there. And then another cop will come and be like, hey, don't stand over there, stand over there. Then I was like, but he just told me I could stand here. Then I had people yelling at me like, yo, Brian, why are you even getting into it with him? I wasn't trying to get into it with him. I would just, at the time, it was just like, y'all over here trying to bust up the whole situation. Ain't even nothing going on. Y'all just being dicks about it. But whatever, that was just me. But, I eventually moved because everybody was like, yo, Brian, it ain't even necessary to, you know what I'm saying? But that happened. Then and then, far as racism, dealing with New York cabs, they don't like to pick up black people or whatever. I remember a time where I was trying to catch a cab like 3 in the morning, and I told the cabbie where I was going. He was like, nah. I remember a time where it was me and the homies out at the club. We were trying to catch a cab back home, and no cab would stop for us. I had to literally jump in front of the cab, wave my hands in front of the cab, and was like, yo, you black. That was funny. Like, it was a black cab driver at that point, and he stopped and then took us home or whatever. I'm like, damn, it's like certain things we call it racism, right? We call it what it is because that's what we're indoctrinated with, right? Far as work, I don't necessarily know if I was left out of anything because, I didn't have it systematically like us. I'm not at a level, and I didn't go to college, so I wasn't at a level where I was entry level anyway. You get what I'm saying? So I just had to get what I can get as far as a job. So I didn't actually feel it that way. Right? with all this being said, like I said, I understand that this goes on, right? And when we discuss the reality of black people in America with a white man or with white people, whatever, when we discuss our plight, they tend not to understand. I believe they genuinely don't understand because it is such far-fetched for them. They haven't experienced it, so it's like it's impossible, right? I believe they genuinely don't understand because they see things as incidents. They see things as, if there are 20 million black people in America, this is just a number. If there are 20 million black people in America and there are 100 incidents with police, right? Not in a year, but just there are 20 million people, black people who have been in America, and there are 100 incidents you can point to from the abolishment of slavery till now. Or matter of fact, I want to say not the abolishment, from the civil rights movement until 2020, if there are 100 incidents, like you could point to it on Google, on history books, they equate the numbers as being, that's only 100, and there's 20 million people who interact with police every day. You get what I'm saying? So they see it as incidents. They don't understand that the incidents comes from the perception of how they see us and how they treat us. The incidents is always gonna come, whether it be 1 this year, 5 the next year, the 0 the third year, and then back to 1. You get what I'm saying? Because the treatment is always there, even if the incident is not there, right? So during this conversation, he asked me, like, we're past slavery, right? And the civil rights movement. He goes, show me where in the logbooks, is there a specific law saying that black people this, or white people this. And I told them, listen, I'm going to give you that there is no law that specifically states treat black people different from white people, right? I'm going to give you that. But what you're going to have to give me is the understanding that law is not in black and white. Law is judged by humans, and it is interpreted as the person who's judging you interprets it. Meaning, a cop can give you a ticket by law if you're doing something wrong, but his judgment and how he's feeling that day can tell you, yo, I just want to give you a warning. It's how you feel at the time. You know what I'm saying? Just like a jury, just like a judge can give you 10 to 25 years. If he feels you repented, but you did something wrong or whatever, he can give you the 10. If he feels you was misled police and you was just an awful person, he can give you the max. It's all about interpretation, right? So you got to give me that. So I told him, it ain't about the law. It's about the attitude that comes with it. So once you start stacking the laws and stacking the indictments, cases, and stacking everything against me, I have more of a hard time fighting that. You get what I'm saying? So ultimately, what I had to express to him was there's a difference between perception and reality. And sometimes, as we all know, perception is reality. So I tried to explain to him that for you don't have the perception, or the law, the cops per se, the policemen, don't have a perception of you as a white man driving, right? Necessarily. So when they stop you and they approach you more at ease. When they see me and I have a hoodie on, or I'm just being black, they may have a perception of how I may come off before they approach me, just by seeing me, hearing the music that I'm listening to. So they approach me differently, and you'll never understand that because you can't feel it. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't. You'll never encounter that because you don't know it. So you can't even feel it. And at the same time, I have perception of saying, yo, I'm a black man. I just want to make it home. I don't want to make him feel uncomfortable because he's approaching me now. So let me do all I can. So when perception meets perception, that's the reality. You know what I'm saying? So we need to start understanding perception is what I was trying to tell him, because all the numbers in the world don't mean a thing. All the stats don't mean a thing. My 7th grade English teacher told me, and it stuck with me my whole life. We had to write a paper. He said, no matter what you write on, I don't care what you write on, but whatever you write on, you have to have an argument to back it up. As long as you have an argument to back it up, you'll receive a good grade. So with that knowledge, and knowing that carried on to my life now, the numbers don't matter. He could find numbers that tell me one thing. I could find numbers that tell you one thing. So let's throw out all the numbers. The reality is, the perception is there. So with the perception being there, on both sides, a new reality is formed. It's not the reality that we're actually living. We're actually living, I'm a good guy, he's a good guy, and he just needs to make sure everything's straight with me, right? The reality is that everybody's cool in the situation, but once we start intertwining the perception of what they may have been taught, you get what I'm saying? It's like I told him, It's like going to war. It's like going to war. Before you get to war, me as your leader, I'm going to tell you all the things that you need to be looked out for. You need to look out for these people. You need to watch out for this over there. If you see this is this. I'm giving you your perception. Just like the policemen, the training they're getting, not the basic training they're getting, but the on-the-job training when they're in the car with their partner for the first time and they go, yo, I'm about to go patrol this neighborhood. You need to be looking out for this, this, and 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 this. So now when they go in there, they on edge already. Their perception, as soon as they see 4 kids hanging out at the store, they thinking what that is because the officer told them. His partner just told him, when you see 4 kids, they probably selling drugs or they probably standing around looking to get drugs or whatever. So when they see 4 kids standing at the store, what you think your perception gonna be? And now that's your reality. I'm talking perception reality here. But like I said, you go to war, you do the same thing. You tell these people you need to be looking out for this. So when now they see it, now they on guard. Of course, that extra second you may take for somebody who you never thought would do that, you lost that. You lost that half a second of thinking because you so on it right now. You get what I'm saying? Because you think you seeing something because your perception turned to your reality. Now, with both of us having a perception, I have a perception on you, you have a perception on me, like I said, there's going to be a clash. There's going to be a clash. And at this point in time, we have no way of getting out that. You know what I'm saying? We too stuck in the ways because we seeing things on TV. We seeing these, like the Black Lives Matter movement matters because things are happening which reinforces the perception. You get what I'm saying? And as long as we continue to lose out on job opportunities, long as we continue to preach systematic oppression, which I believe is real, you know what I'm saying? What people don't understand about systematic racism and oppression here in America, I want y'all to understand that black people were brought here as slaves, right? Even black people sold us to the white man in Africa. You know, that's the whole thing. But black people were brought here as slaves, right? And worked here. And grew up under this slave mentality. Throughout time, we got free, but we're still under the people who enslaved us because we have to go to them for jobs. We have to go to them for money. We have to go to them for housing. Civil rights happens. Things got better than slavery, better than after slavery. Now we got civil rights. We're able to go to school, able to learn how to read and write. We're able to integrate classrooms and all of these things, right? But still, we are under the grandfathers who, like the great grands. We dealing with their kids, and their line of thinking is still in line. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm passing on the company to you. You gonna do this. This how you keep the thing in the family, and the knowledge is being passed on. Now, 2020, yes, it's the system is still in place because the knowledge is still being passed on from generation to generation, but slowly the generation now, now that we have hip hop and the hip hop culture, they're trying to be, we're the dominant, and the vibe comes from us, and the swag comes from us, and the energy comes from us. You know what I'm saying? It always came from us, but they could suppress it, but now they can't, and so they getting into it, and eventually I hope 2050 it'll be done, but at this right now we still in it because all we doing now is dealing with the grandson, 2 grandsons removed. Like, do y'all really understand that civil rights was what, 1960s, 1970s? That puts us at about 60 years. We are literally only 60 years removed. That means my grandmom and my granddad, who are 80, they were born in a time where they were looked down upon. You get what I'm saying? Well, we still born in a time where, but it was real back then for my grandmother and granddad. You get what I'm saying? So if it was my grandmom and granddad who's 80, and it's 60 years ago, so they was like 20. So we really is only like 2 generations away. That makes sense? Like, we only 2 generations away from, so we not even, the system is still in place because the white man who runs whatever is still he's still gonna pass it on to his son and his kids, and they're gonna pass it on to their son and their kids, and they're passing on the knowledge with it. You get what I'm saying? So that's what people don't understand about systematic oppression. And I hate that they compare it to like the Holocaust or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because they say, well, the Jewish people don't have to live that. Do you realize, for the most part, you're talking about Jewish people in America. The Holocaust was not in America. They left Nazi Germany. They left, so they wasn't up under the oppressor. You get what I'm saying? So you get to come up if if we didn't have to deal with white people who oppressed us, if we didn't have to go to them for money, for bank loans, for jobs, for cars, if we didn't have to go to them to pretty much for food to live, we would be at a better place. But we're still up under that. And when bring it full circle, and when the incidents that are going on in 2018, 2019, 2017, that's reinforcing the perception we have, that it reinforces the perception that you have, it now creates a reality. No matter how false it is, it is real. You know what I'm saying? And I mean false in like I said, it could be you could be a great boss. I could be a great employee. But if I get passed up on a job for a white man, that perception I already thought was, you know what I'm saying? I already had it in my mind. It makes it real. And there is no, well, he was better for the job. How was he better? I was here longer. I have the same degrees as him. I bring in the same amount. You get what I'm saying? So, like I said, no matter the issue, if we still feel away and the perception is there, and you feel away and your perception is there, that's going to create the reality of how we move. And I think it was a productive conversation. I don't necessarily know he went home and did some research, because it really ended on some let's figure out a way to change the perception. You get what I'm saying? Because the Black Lives Matter movement is not for nothing. Like, I have to say this. He said from what he known about the Black Lives Matter movement, he didn't like, because he was only shown images of them protesting and blocking ambulance trucks, which he said had hurt people in them and all of these things. And he didn't even understand that a protest can happen, such as Black Lives Matter, and it could be a few rebels in that protest. It could be a very peaceful protest, and there could be a few rebels who want to destroy and destruct things. And if they only show you the people who destroying and destructing, that is forming your perception. The reality is, it's a whole big movement, and the movement is based off of real life situations that we're trying to rectify. So once again, we have to start understanding perception versus reality. And right now, perception is winning. Perception is winning. We need to find a way to get back to reality. I thank you for going with me through my thoughts.